It was a dark and quiet night. The streets were empty, and the wind was cold. Lila's heart was pounding as she ran down the alley. Her breaths were short, her legs weak, but she couldn't stop now. Behind her, footsteps echoed in the silence. Someone was following her. She turned a corner and came face to face with a man in a black hoodie. His face was hidden, and his voice was low and scary. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. Lila didn't step back. Her hands clenched into fists, her fear replaced with anger. "Where is he?" she demanded. "Where is my husband?" The man laughed. "You really don't know, do you? Ethan isn't the man you think he is." Those words struck Lila like lightning. What did he mean? What was Ethan hiding? Why had her husband left her so suddenly? 2 months ago, Lila's life was perfect, or so she thought. She and Ethan had been married for 5 years. They celebrated their anniversary at home with a simple dinner. Candles lit the table, and soft music played in the background. But that night, Ethan seemed distant. He kept looking at his phone, his fingers typing fast. "Ethan," Lila said, trying to smile. "Is something wrong?" Ethan looked up and forced a smile. "No, everything's fine," he said, but his eyes told a different story. Later that night, Lila woke up to find Ethan gone. His side of the bed was empty. She called his phone, but there was no answer. She searched the house, but he wasn't there. Finally, she saw a message on her phone. It was from Ethan. It said, "Don't look for me." Lila's world shattered. Why would her husband leave her? Where did he go? She couldn't stop thinking about it. Lila couldn't sit still. She needed to find Ethan and learn the truth. She started searching everywhere. First, she went to his office, but his coworkers said they hadn't seen him. Then, she visited the coffee shop he liked, but no one there had any answers. Days turned into weeks. Lila was losing hope. Then one day, while cleaning the house, she found a small piece of paper in Ethan's old jacket. It had a name and an address. Marcus, Club Nova. Lila didn't know who Marcus was, but this was her only clue. She decided to go to Club Nova and find out. Club Nova was loud, bright, and chaotic. The music was so loud that Lila felt it in her chest. The room was packed with people dancing and talking. Lila walked through the crowd, her eyes scanning the faces. Finally, she saw a man sitting in the corner. He looked tough, with tattoos covering his arms. 2 big men stood next to him, guarding him. Lila walked up to the table. "Are you Marcus?" she asked. Marcus looked up, surprised. "Who's asking?" he said. "I'm Lila," she said. "I need to know where Ethan is." Marcus's expression changed. He looked nervous. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Go home." Before Lila could reply, the doors of the club burst open. Men with guns stormed in, shouting, "Get down!" Marcus yelled, pulling Lila behind the table. Bullets flew through the air. People screamed and ran for the exits. Lila's heart raced as she crouched behind the table. "What is happening?" she shouted. "They're here for me," Marcus said. "And now, they're after you too." Marcus grabbed Lila's arm. "Follow me," he said. Lila didn't have time to argue. She followed Marcus as he crawled toward the back door. The gunshots were loud, and the chaos was terrifying. They reached the door, and Marcus pushed it open. They ran into the dark alley, away from the noise. "Now, tell me," Lila said, her voice shaking. "Where is Ethan?" Marcus leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. "Your husband is in trouble," he said. "Big trouble," What kind of trouble? Leila asked. Marcus looked at her seriously. The kind of trouble you don't survive, he said. Marcus took Lila to a small, hidden apartment. It was dark and messy, with old furniture and papers scattered everywhere. You want answers? Marcus said, sitting on the couch. Here's the truth. Ethan isn't who you think he is. What do you mean? Lila asked, her voice trembling. He's a thief, Marcus said. One of the best. He stole something from a very dangerous man, and now that man wants him dead. Lila couldn't believe what she was hearing. Ethan, her kind and loving husband, a thief. That's not possible, she said, shaking her head. It is, Marcus said. And now, they think you know where he is. That's why you're in danger too. Marcus told Leila about a warehouse where Ethan might be. It was risky, but Leila didn't care. She needed to find her husband. The warehouse was old and empty. The windows were broken, and the air smelled like rust. Lila and Marcus sneaked inside, trying to be quiet. They walked through the dark halls, their footsteps echoing. Finally, they saw Ethan. He was tied to a chair, his face bruised and bloody. A tall man in a black suit stood in front of him. Victor, Marcus whispered. He's the boss. Lila's heart sank. She wanted to run to Ethan, but she knew she couldn't. Victor noticed them. Well, he said, smiling. Look who decided to join us. The loving wife. Let him go. Lila shouted. Victor laughed. And why would I do that? Lila saw a metal pipe on the ground. Without thinking, she picked it up and swung it at one of Victor's guards. The guard fell to the floor, and chaos erupted. Marcus jumped into the fight, tackling another guard. Ethan broke free from the chair and joined in, despite his injuries. The fight was intense. Lila dodged punches and swung the pipe, trying to protect herself and Ethan. Marcus used a chair to block one of the guards. Victor grabbed a gun, but before he could fire, Ethan tackled him. The gun slid across the floor, and Lila grabbed it. Stay down, she shouted, pointing the gun at Victor. Ethan and Marcus took care of the remaining guards. Finally, the room was silent. Let's go, Ethan said, grabbing Lila's hand. They ran out of the warehouse as fast as they could. Just as they reached the street, the warehouse exploded behind them. Outside, under the night sky, Ethan and Lila collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily. Ethan, Lila said, tears streaming down her face. Why did you leave me? Ethan looked at her, his face full of guilt. I was trying to protect you, he said. Protect me from what? Lila asked. From Victor, Ethan said. I stole something from him, a rare diamond. When I refused to work for him again, he threatened to hurt you. I thought if I disappeared, you'd be safe. Lila's heart ached. You should have told me, she said. I didn't want to drag you into this, Ethan said. I'm sorry. As the sun rose, Lila and Ethan sat together, holding hands. The danger wasn't completely over, but they had each other. We'll face this together, Lila said, her voice strong. Ethan nodded. Together, he said. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to fight for their future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. See you in the next video where every story unfolds with a twist.